We're here for lunch therapy. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And so far, we have nobody, but soon we will have some people in the chat room, I hope. We're here streaming live from Los Angeles in the hunker down mode. We're hunkering down. This is a moment just to kind of relax, let go a little bit. Don't hold on so tight to all the mayhem that's going on. We're just going to have a little bit of fun here. That's the idea. I'm up for it. Hopefully you guys are too. I'm going to have people give me suggestions in the chat room while I'm talking now, and then later on I can look in the chat and I can take some of your suggestions and do some improv comedy. Right now, a few things are on my mind. One of the things is yesterday we were talking about HR Puff and stuff, and it made me think because I had seen the movie Cats, right? And Cats really attempted to do something monumental and perhaps failed. Remains to be seen, because there are a lot of movies that come out and they seem like failures, but they catch fire later on. And that could be what's happening now. Everybody's at home. Cats is there for us to enjoy. Now we might be in a different headspace where maybe we might enjoy having furry, humanistic cats flaunting about. I know I enjoyed it. I spent $20 on it. And it was a $20 well spent. My wife Kamala and I sat and watched at least half of it. And it was really something. So, I think back to my childhood, and I was thinking about HR Puff and stuff, and how, maybe after all this, we're going to take a step back. When we come out of our hiding, we're going to take a step back and think about some of the things that we're doing and their effect. And, maybe in that moment, we might get all Luddite, might become a little bit more in tune with nature. And I think maybe we'll drop some of the CGI stuff a little bit too. So, maybe I'm just thinking, maybe we should probably do an HR Puff and Stuff movie. And there's another show that maybe a lot of you did not see or have not seen. I was not even sure whether it actually existed. You know how sometimes you have memories and you just wonder, you start telling somebody about it and you start thinking, was that real? I don't know. When I was a kid, I came into show and tell one time, and I told everybody about how I went to Legoland. And my parents took us to Europe when we were little kids, and we went to Denmark, and we went to this place where you could drive around in Lego vehicles. They had Lego cars. You know it. It exists now in Southern California. It didn't exist in the United States then. And so the kids thought I was lying. Yeah, they thought I was lying about the cars that you could drive. They were Lego cars. And, I got a lot of flack for it. And then you start to wonder, was I lying? Is this something that I completely fabricated? Is this not true? And then the years go by and you start to say, wow, I'm a little delusional. I'm a little bit delusional. Maybe that didn't happen. So this is one of those things. It was called the New Zoo Review. Fantastic kind of HR Puff and Stuff kind of show. Tell me, in the chat room if you've seen it before. Here's a little trailer from it. Well, this is the intro. That's Freddy the Frog, I believe. Henrietta Hippo is in the background there. She's cool. And then there's that dude. And then there's another human. So there are two of them. And then, they get up to all kinds of shenanigans. And they're fun. I mean, Freddy's fun. Henrietta Hippo, the owl. They have their own environments that they hang out in. it just was a good time. So maybe, you know, I'm just putting it out there. Maybe there's a movie to be made from that. Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, it's that kind of thing that just makes life better. New Year's review. This is what we're doing here is we're doing some stand-up, some live stand-up. Today we're streaming live, which is cool because haven't been able to for the last few days because the internet was all over the place. Again, laugh therapy is the thing that we usually do live, but no laugh therapy. No laugh therapy, of course, right now because there's not a lot of anything. And I'm going to get the chat room up here just to see. Oh, we got some people. I'm just going to read to see how it's going. Oh, this is fantastic. Yep. We're getting some chat. I got the technology going. We're going to have the chat room on the screen. Yeah. So there, you can put it there. It's this. I haven't gotten used to this part here. It's right there. It's right there. Kind of small right now. It could be bigger. Maybe I can make it bigger. I don't know. But, then I'm kind of cut off. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have the chat room. I'm going to try and, make it a little bit more visible. But we can see it on the screen. We can see the suggestions and in real time because there's a delay. When I live stream like this, that's one of the things that we lose is we lose the instant contact. One of the other things, speaking of instant contact that I want to tell you guys about is that we're going to be having guests on the show. Starting tomorrow, we're going to have our first guest. And that's pretty exciting. I'm excited about it. I'm going to bring him in on Skype. I can't be responsible for what he's going to say. He's kind of nutty. He's a comedian here in Los Angeles. He's a good friend of mine. A real self-starter. His name is Tom Kearney. Tom Kearney. So Tom Kearney's going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to bring him in. I don't know if it's going to be live because I'm at the whim of Spectrum, the specter of Spectrum right now. So I don't know what's going to happen all the time, but I try to predict. Try to predict the future as much as possible. My friend Jeff Lohman and I used to have this show that maybe we'll start up again someday soon. It's called Groundhoggers. And that was where we would just sit and try and predict the future. I'll put it on my channel, just a couple of episodes from Groundhoggers. We just talk about, things because we both see ourselves as futurists. We know what's going to happen in the future. Sometimes to our own detriment. You know how some people are ahead of their time? That's us. We're ahead of our time. And being ahead of your time is almost as bad as being behind the times. Because, some people say, I missed the boat. I missed the boat because the boat has not docked yet. So I go out there with all my luggage to get on the boat, and I just walk plunk right off the pier right into the water. Sometimes I drown. But you know what? Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we do some not dumb. Sometimes we do some innovative things, and it's just not ready. Again, my friend and I invented YouTube long before, moments before YouTube started. We had our own internet program of still pictures, which is not really a competitor for YouTube at all. But, at the time, people had 56K modems, and it's really hard to do anything, right? So it's tough. But, we keep going. And, we just, every once in a while, we get some kind of ailment, and we're like, is this going to be the thing that's going to kill me? When we're younger, we think we're indestructible. Like these kids. I don't want to bring in the whole thing that's going on in the outside world, but just as an example, there's kids partying and they feel like they can't get the virus or whatever, and because they're indestructible. They think they're indestructible. This is what we think when we're young because we kind of are. We kind of are indestructible. If I think about things that I did when I was a kid and how I should have died. Yeah, in cars for sure. I remember one time I was going to a swim meet and there was snow all over the place. Snow. No, that was not it. There was no snow. And I was in my car and I was with this guy, Eric, and he was in the car and we were going to a swim meet. And we got on this kind of short road and I decided to show him how fast my car could go. I had this 67 Mercury Cougar and I floored it and the thing took off, but then I slowed down before the end of the road. And he was like, wow, that's really something. So the next day it was his turn to drive and we're in high school. We're going to a swim meet, but this time there's snow on the ground and ice. And for some reason, Eric, who thinks he's invincible, decides to just floor it. And I'm like, hey, whoa, Eric, what are you doing? And it didn't end well. I mean, we wrapped that thing around a pole because, the ice and everything, hard to stop. But luckily we wrapped it around the pole because if we didn't, there was a hill afterwards with snow on it that we would just go cascading down. We would have just gone down there. We'd be dead. There'd be no lunch therapy to speak of. Luckily, we wrapped it around the pole. And then, weirdly enough, we just went to the swim meet afterwards. And I swam the fastest individual medley I have ever swum in my life. I was just like, whoo! So much adrenaline from the car accident. I mean, I guess if I was in the Olympics, I would make sure that when the big day came, because you got to do everything to give your best on that day when you're an Olympic athlete. Because in an Olympic athlete, you get like one shot. You get like one shot at it. So you got to do everything that you can. And you can't drug yourself because they do that drug testing and stuff. But I don't think they do car accident testing. So you just go out the day before, or the day of the meet, just before the meet, and you just get in a car on a short road and just make sure there's a pole at the end because you want to survive this thing. And you just floor it. You get it up to a good speed, jam on the brakes. It helps if there's some ice, and then smash into a pole. And then get out of that car. You'll swim the fastest time that you ever swim. You'll take a few milliseconds, a few seconds off your time. I mean, at that level, even milliseconds, are important. So you'll get that. And this applies to anything, I guess, where you need a lot of adrenaline. Stand-up comedy, I don't know. I don't know if you don't need too much adrenaline. You need to be a little bit calm. So you get yourself into a minor fender bender before a big show. Maybe that'll help. Maybe. So we're gonna bring Tom Kearney on. Tom, he's kind of a wild card. Hopefully he'll keep it cool because sometimes he says stuff that is just weird. He's a weird dude. I don't know if he's in the chat room, but tomorrow we're gonna have a lot of Tom Kearney. So I'm gonna see what's happening in the chat room right now. Okay. So let's take a look here. Coming right at you. That's Neil Phillip, my college roommate up there in Seattle. These people are terrifying. This is my wife looking at the new zoo review. The hippo's nose scares me a lot. Yeah, that was one of the things about her nose. She had some giant nostrils. Henrietta hippo. But we didn't judge back then. Now we do, though. I do as much as possible. And for Kamala, it just scares her. And then Mulva Phillips said they should cast her in the remake. I don't know. Oh, Henrietta Hippo? She should probably, yeah. They'll cast Meryl Streep or something. So, this whole stunt casting, I think that, that kind of ruins movies lately. The stunt casting, rather than get like a really good actor, they just fill the thing with all these known actors, just kind of shoehorn them in. They don't care if they can sing. They don't care if they can dance. They just throw them in there because they know that we'll come see it because of our favorite actors in it or whatever. That's kind of what I'm doing with lunch therapy, trying to, amp up the views by getting Tom Kearney in here because I know he's going to pull in, all kinds of hits. The comedian Tom Kearney coming tomorrow. to lunch therapy. Let's see what else is happening in the chat room. Yeah, the Olympics are going to get canceled. It's so true. It's so true. Nostril shaming. I think nostril shaming is a thing, actually. You know, people with big nostrils, they get kind of worried sometimes about it. And, you know, nobody really cares. I remember one time I was in a class, and there was a guy. He didn't have big nostrils, but he always wore turtlenecks. And you don't realize the kind of torture that people are going through until you get yourself in some kind of an acting class. Because this guy, he gets up on stage and they're like, could you not wear a turtleneck next time? Because this character doesn't wear turtlenecks. I don't think. It just doesn't seem like the right kind of outfit. And he was like, I don't know if I can do that. We were like, what? The teacher, everybody's like, you know, you try not to judge. That's my theme today. But we're like, you could wear a t-shirt or something. You know, I think he was doing Streetcar Named Desire or something. And, you know, the Stanley Kowalski wearing the turtleneck up to here just was weird. It was weird. He was like, well, I can't. We were like, what? He said, I can't. I've got this thing on my neck, and it's horribly embarrassing, and I've never shown it to anybody. And we were like, you know, it's cool. We're not going to judge. We're not going to talk about this on a future live stream or anything. But just, you know, could you show it to us? And he's like, I don't know if I can because it's so incredibly embarrassing. And you know, we didn't want to press him. We didn't want to. This was pre-Me Too, you know. But still, we didn't want to. You know, you don't want to. Acting teachers have a lot of power because people just listen to whatever they say, and they can be megalomaniacal, you know. But this acting teacher, you know, kind of prodded a little bit because it was kind of important. You know, we wanted to see what was on the guy's neck, and we were like, well, you know, maybe you can cover it up with makeup. Maybe there's some way you can deal with this. So finally, after like a half an hour, he pulled down just a little bit on his turtleneck, and there was a mole, like maybe the size of this mole, on his neck. You could barely see it. You had to actually get up close to see it on his neck. And this was stopping him from doing all kinds of things. It was even stopping the class for a half an hour because the thing, you know, was just, it was nothing is what I'm saying. It was nothing. And so a lot of us, you know, in our lives, we make these huge deals about things in our lives. Like Henrietta Hippo, she might have been really like weird about her nostrils because they're huge. I mean, they're huge. It's not like the little mole or anything. Henrietta had some big nostrils, but you know what? I bet she's happy she has them when it comes to like swimming around in the swamp. And hippos, hippos are like super strong too and really resourceful, and they're probably one of the most dangerous animals. That's what I've heard. I'm going to look at the old chat here. Yes, I see. Kamala says her brother Elliot is worried about his big nostrils. Yeah, we're overly fixated on the external, right? We need to become more internally referencing. I love that, internally referencing. I'm sort of internally referencing sometimes. Referencing, I don't know what internally. I'm totally referencing my internal Tweety bird. I'm going to get the Tweety bird mask out. It's good to have visuals when you're doing a show because it makes for good clips. And so internally, I've talked about this before. Internally, I'm Tweety bird. Sometimes I crack out the mask because I didn't realize that you could just get these. I got this at Hollywood Costume. I got a few of them because it really, every once in a while when I need to kind of center myself, I just put on the mask and it feels good. And I'm so glad that Scott Peak just got into the chat room. Sorry about that. I gotta put the links out better. I don't know. It's a lot of technical stuff going on here. But sometimes I can just be internally Tweety Bird, and I just feel good. So yeah, I bet Tweety Bird thought he had a high voice or something. He probably was a little bit insecure about something. Maybe he thought he had big feet, because to him, those feet are huge. To us, they're probably not so big. I wanted to talk about, something else here that I brought as a kind of a show and tell. And my show and tell was this. I don't know if you guys remember this, but this was this was in comic books when we were kids. Tiny little children. Maybe I'm reverting to my childhood a lot in this show, and maybe that's kind of fun. I don't know. Maybe it's a theme. Maybe nostalgia. Maybe it's just about reverting to like a better time or reminding us of our past. I don't know. I got no excuse for it. The little voice in my head is saying, Joel, you're showing too many things from your childhood. People are going to freak out. And you know what? Let them freak out, right? And this is scary. This is monster-sized monsters, right? And so in the back of the comic book, they'd have ads. First was the one up above, monster-sized skeleton. Glows in the dark, 5 feet tall. Full 5 feet tall. Not like partial 5 feet tall. Full 5 feet tall. Only $1.75. $1.75. I bought it. I bought it. I sent in my $1.75 to Honor House or whatever that is. The 5-foot Mr. Bones is scary enough at any time. But wait till you see him in the dark. In all of his horrible spine-chilling grandeur, eyes glowing like fiery coals. Shake him, and his arms, legs, and head move. You'd swear he's alive. I mean, I was hooked. I was totally hooked. I had to buy it, right, Scott? I had to buy it. So I did. I got together $1.75. It took me a while. Got it together, got it in an envelope, sent it to them. I had to get my mom to write a check, so I had to give her the $1.75, and she wrote the check, and then we sent it in, and I waited. Every day I went to the mailbox to get my monster-sized skeleton. Every day. For 6 months. 6 months. Yeah. Finally it came. Finally I got the monster-sized skeleton. Glows in the dark. And I thought, you start to picture what it's going to look like. And you think it's going to be like a big box, like an action figure box, a gigantic action figure box with Boney in there. And his eyes glow in the dark. And you open it up and, you play with his bones and you just have a good old time. You could maybe dance around with him, That'd be kind of fun. You could scare people with him. Your brother comes down the hallway. Huh! There's Boney with his glow in the dark eyes. So he shows up 6 months later, and by now I'm kind of tired. But you got a lot of resilience when you're a kid, as we were talking about earlier today. You just you're kind of resilient, impatient but resilient. And I got myself, and I opened it up, and there was Boney, but it wasn't a skeleton at all. And in fact, it just came in a little package, and it was a poster that the kind you put on the wall, and it was made of like Viz Queen or some kind of plastic, and it was flat, and it was just a picture of a skeleton, and it wasn't a skeleton at all. It was not a skeleton at all. And I'm like, something must be wrong. This must be the advertisement for Boney that's coming, or like an anticipation of Boney coming. And the glow-in-the-dark eyes. You wonder, what were the glow-in-the-dark eyes? Well, they were little glow-in-the-dark stickers that you put on the eyes. That was it. This all brings me to something else that's kind of been really irritating me lately. And I don't know what to do about it, but I had a similar experience to the monster-sized monster Boney skeleton thing recently. And Kamala says, first lesson, people will let you down. Well, let's talk about that because people, somebody let me and Kamala down recently. And I don't know if this happened to you guys, but we got a video. I don't know who sent it to us. Maybe it was on Facebook, but it looked a little like this. See that? It's a fish that moves on its own, and the cat loves it. The cat is just, I don't know what's up with the collar on that cat. It's a weird, like, crocheted collar, but probably something they got off of Etsy. But here he is, just, playing with this hilarious flopping fish. And we just were like, oh my God, we have to get this. We have to get the flopping fish. And it is flopping on its own, right? I mean, it is. That cat's not making it flop, unless this is some kind of cat actor that does some kind of special, I don't know, special skill that the cat has. Look at this. And there he goes. He's like, whoa, what's that? Oh, it's moving. Whoa, I love it so much. And he just rolls around. It's just, I love it. And we're thinking, how can we be responsible cat owners and not get this for our cat, this revolutionary new toy called the Floppy, I think it's called the Floppy Fish. I don't know. Ours, after waiting, not 6 months, but after waiting a while, because the thing came from China. And I paid like $12. And here it is. It arrived, right? It arrived. And it kind of looks the same. I mean, they had different versions that you could choose, but no floppy. There's no floppy going on at all here. It's just a stuffed fish. And that's not really revolutionary. That's not something. And I thought maybe the zipper here has something. Look at the cats. Oh my God, they're so great. So great. All right, so I got to go back. What's going on here? Oh, Jenny Sykes has just come into the chat room. Well, I don't know. Maybe been there for an hour because there's a little bit of a delay, but getting here late, watching in real time. But she's not real either. It's a good point. So, Jenny, we're talking about the flopping fish here. I'm going to just show that. Well, you probably saw it already, but anyway, this fish does not flop. And our cat is not interested in it. And I thought, well, maybe there'd be like a mechanism inside, but there's nothing. There's nothing in there. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe they forgot the mechanism. I don't know. I'll talk to customer service and it'll be fine. No one to talk to. No one to talk to. Just like Boney. Back in the day with Boney, there was no way to respond. You know what I did? My response, order the monster, right? I mean, that's the logical thing to do. If Boney comes and there's no glow-in-the-dark eyes, there's, nothing that they promised, well, the monster must be real, right? The monster size monster. Now he's 7 feet tall. And he also has authentic glow-in-the-dark eyes. And now there is a 10-day free trial. So if the monster is not a real monster, you can take it back to Lynbrook, New York. Honor House. That's kind of ironic. Is it ironic? Chat room? I don't know. I can never get a handle on that. But the name, yeah, I think it's ironic. It's an ironic name. Honor House. Totally dishonorable. I never noticed it. I've gone overtime here. I've gone a little bit overtime. And, these things can't be epic. I didn't take enough things in the chat room, but you know what? This is evolving. Eventually, I'm going to have the chat be, really huge. Con artists, that's it. Con Honor House. If I was Donald Trump, I'd call them Con Honor House. Con Artist House. Look at, so that's where I am with the chat. Neil Phillips says yes. See, that's where you can see the delay through the chat. But I'm going to try and make that bigger. I don't know. This is going well with the technical today. Hopefully it was good for you guys. Thanks for being in the chat room. Invite your friends. going to try to do this. I'm doing this at noon every day. Sometimes it's not live because Spectrum lets me down, like Dishonor House does, and like the fish, flopping fish. And Camel said, what about the bat? The bat is happening on Instagram. Tanya Vega's Instagram account, the bat, who you've seen on previous shows, will be appearing today on Instagram. So go to Tanya Vega's, I think. I mean, if she's got internet. She was having some trouble. But I'm going to bring the bat back to the show too. But tomorrow, we're going to have Tom Kearney. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have Tom Kearney. All right, so thank you very much. And stay well, right? Stay well.